Good evening, Free Enterprise community fans, runners, and viewers. The tournament might be waiting out in the last stages here, but the excitement sure isn't. Welcome to this, Game 2 of the Blue Moon Waxing Semifinals matchup between Kyrios and Cubsrule. Behind the scenes is Alicel and Mechalink, making the pictures move, the buttons light up, and putting on the show that you see before you. I am one of your commentators for tonight, X-Pancras, joined tonight by the wonderful Blue Wizard. How you doing tonight, Blue?
I'm doing well, and I am absolutely excited for this.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a great one. We're here in the round of 4, the semifinals of the Blue Moon Waxing bracket. So it's been chock full of exciting matches. We just had the other half of the semifinals going on these past couple days. We get to see the exciting Game 2 between these two runners. It is sure to be a fantastic one.
I mean, can you believe that it's already the semifinals?
I can't. This tournament seems to have been going by. It's just been one after the other. Admittedly, the format kind of lends to that. It's just 1 week after another. But we've been going on for a little bit here, and now we're all the way here. It's great.
It is fantastic. All right, it looks like we have a Kane start with a myriad of bosses this evening. I would think that, with this being Blue Moon and the boss bit being turned off for a couple of them, half of the bosses are going to just be, land that AoE stone and call it the day.
That AoE stone, that powered up Quake spell. We've got a semi-friendly draw on some of these tonight. The Kypo Guards, the Dark Imps, the Calbrina Dolls, all of them falling to those nice, happy AoE spells. The other options, a little less friendly, possibly, bosses that you'd see in the Red Moon boss pool. Elements, Keinatsu, Asura. A little grumpier to deal with, but with the right tools, say a Mute Knife, a stack of Thor Rages, an Ice Brand / Holy Sword, you can take care of them pretty quickly.
Yep, and we are off to the races.
Oh, already, exciting. We just started talking. What do you mean we're starting already?
Hey. Time flies when we're racing. And speaking of racing, you wanted 2 high agility characters at start, right? With a Baron Key, I think I saw.
No, a Bacchus Wine.
Bacchus Wine.
Not quite a key item yet.
Well, it started with the BA, it's close enough.
Yeah, close enough. I mean, Bacchus Wine opens some doors. Maybe not the Barren Waterway door, but some doors.
Maybe our Edward will have what we're looking for.
But not quite that high-powered start. We've got our Banana Cane and a Yong to accompany, but this isn't exactly what I'd call early game damage out the gate. Runners have a couple options here. We can go check that Bedward, like you mentioned. We can go straight to Mistcaves, get those boss checks going, or we can go find the characters. Try to find a pair of twins, a Cecil, an Edge, something to give us that early game power to get the ball rolling.
Yep, and we see the Divergence, and that is a reset out of a required boss. Dark Imps at Mistcave. Interesting.
It's great knowledge to have that it's there, but what are we gonna do to take out the Dark Imps at this point? We can throw Thor Rages, but the Mistcave spot actually has a little bit of magic defense. It's not gonna do a whole lot of damage.
Yep, and thankfully it's gonna be just some weak old enemies there, and not like a Golbez. Thankfully, we know that the runners won't see Golbez there because I learned recently Golbez has actually some rather scary firepower in that spot.
He has enough to be annoying, especially when your party has collectively 500 hit points.
That is a very scary start indeed. And I believe that was a hook coming out of Edward's spot.
Oh yeah, we've got a hook seed in every seed on both Blue and Red Moon brackets. You will not be finding the Magma Key above ground for your underground access. You will be finding a Heroine Robe in Damsian Basement if you are Kyrios, though. All of these, nice finds to have.
And a Life Staff, Diamond... Oh, and a Gungnir.
Oh, that is a lot of high-value items. That was like 4 tier 5s, 2 tier 6s.
I mean, when T Wildish rears its head, it rears it nicely, apparently.
Yeah, that is going to set Kyrios up great, assuming that we can find somebody to wear that Heroine Robe. If we don't, we still have the Gungnir, but Rosa will do to wear it.
Yep. That is definitely a very A very worthy character to go and wear that. We see on Cubsrule21 side, the Dr. Luggage over in the waterfall. Not quite a required boss.
Nah, he will give his sermon to the waterfall, just a whole bunch of dialogue that we don't need to hear over the crashing waves.
Yeah, they say don't go chasing waterfalls, and in this case, you don't need to.
Something poison and the lasers you're used to.
Yep, because nobody likes a 66 floor walk. 66, 65 floors.
I don't know, but we do like Cecil. He's in the waterfall too.
We do like Cecil there. Which having some of the loot that our runners have picked up so far, it's gonna make when they go do Eblin looking for that holy sword if they don't find one beforehand, it's gonna make their trip a lot easier, having picked up some of those higher tier items already.
Definitely. And we've checked at this point every character spot but Mount Ordeals. There is some power in this seed. We have Kane, Rosa, Cecil, Edge as a core 4. Yang can be substituted out a little bit. Rydia can be that anchor slot, or a black mage to cast the warp glitch, or to cast warp for the warp glitch later on. We have a lot of options, and, the potential for a vanilla party if they choose.
Yep. I mean, this is going to showcase, and speaking of holy swords, a lightsaber on Cubs' side. I mean, what's the range? It's a crystal sword, Excal, and then lightsaber? Or is the
More
legend
or
sword
less.
above that?
Nah, the legend sword's way below. Legend sword has puny attack power. Loosely, the light sword is about equal to a defense sword. I think you get the small bit of plus strength off the light sword, and slightly better accuracy. Actually, they might both be 99%. I forget. But they're about comparable in terms of raw damage.
And we see Cubs going back for those Dark Imps, while Kyrios does try to make his way up Mount Ordeals. Who will be that 7-slot character?
Survey says... that's a good black mage. We take those.
Yep. And,
or Kyrios doesn't take those.
No, because I know that Syrup was picked up in Damsian Basement. Oh, and there's a cursed ring. Oh boy.
Ooh, great pickup.
This seed has generosity written all over its loot.
Definitely. We've got, what is it? Heroine Robe, Cursed Ring, Gungnir Spear, a middle sword start for Edge to go with that ninja shirt that we picked up. This is a lot of power early on. And a lot of great characters. Like, one thing our runners maybe are or are not happy to not see, there is no Tella in this seed. We've seen all 7 of our characters. There is no Mr. Stinky. There will not be a D-Machine grind on the table for them tonight.
Nope, no D-Machine grind, and no early exit.
Well, Cecil gets it pretty early.
I mean, but you still have to go through ordeals and get him online and get him some levels. It's, because
it is some effort.
Because I think you have to do a little bit more than just Eblin to get him exit.
If you're doing all 3 chests and he gets a slingshot off one of them, he should be fine. Or should get there all the way to exit, but we'll have to wait and see. Cubsrule picking up a mute knife in Mysidia. Great pickup, especially when we're having to fight the Asura as an objective, and the elements if you tip to Ruby Face. And it's just a solid second weapon for Edge to pair with that middle sword.
And isn't Golbez classified as mage?
Golbez is not a mage. He is weak to fire, but is not a mage. Which is weird, he should be a mage. He casts so many spells.
I do have one question to that, though.
And what's that?
Well, why?
Why indeed?
Why
indeed? Because Shadow is hungry for something other than mages.
Yep, he's gonna be hungry for all the mages today.
It's like, you're feeding your pet snake. Oh, this one, he doesn't like mages. Or maybe he likes mages too much and, can't have Golbez being a mage when you're trying to feed Shadow mages. That might be a little worrying.
Just a little bit. And we see Kyrios taking a safety save after Dark Elf, only to come up against an easy karate. Now, I actually kind of enjoy this particular fight because if what the way the back attack works is that Karate will actually go off screen, much like
Oh
he
yeah,
just did.
the kick
Uh,
heard around the world.
Yep, and other fights when like Plague is here, you get to see all of the numbers counting down backwards, and it's a fun sight to see.
Well, favorite is still going to be the Odin Zantetsuken, which goes also around the world. You don't get to see it a whole lot because usually you don't want to see Zantetsuken here. It does hurt, but
Nope, not unless you're working on your Thunderstruck strats.
all right. Cubsrule went up the mountain, saw the Palom, had a little bit of an internal debate, but also sticks with the vanilla endgame party. I wonder if it's because it's the vanilla party that he was thinking and hovering over Rydia as a replacement or to replace, but ultimately decided let's go with the vanilla. I like it.
Yep, and so I think, and this is totally a theory, that Kyrios might actually be trying to set up for a double sling. Because he does have that curse ring, it makes anyone into an anchor pretty much. And if he does decide to, well, actually, because he's got to get ready up to at least warp if he wants to go and get that item from dwarf. So he might actually just do a double slingshot, which would be very, very well efficient.
Yeah, I think that's why we're seeing Cubs let Rydia stay alive and get those levels. Partly to get to warp, which she just did off that fight, but also because with the curse ring in hand, it doesn't matter as much if she, remains dead the whole seed. The cursed ring will always keep them, with the minus 15 agility that it provides, at a comfortable agility threshold to be mostly RA1 on everybody. Unless somebody is really fast or really slow.
Yep, and Rydia doesn't get that much agility.
No, she is pretty slow. Not as slow as Palom, but pretty slow.
And we see on Kyrios' side taking out the Leviathan, getting his Paladin's Hustle online, and I don't know what the key item he got was from there.
A lunar staff. No key item.
That is definitely a zonk.
Yeah, especially with the life staff that Kyrios has from the basement of Damsien.
Which, actually, because Rydia is still in her child form, she could wear staffs.
True, she could. We need those Cure ones to do more damage. Or more healing, more anti-damage, negative damage, whatever you want to call it.
Just in case you wanted to let Rydia hit things.
Let Rydia heal things.
Yes. New meta objective, let Rydia heal things.
One thing, Cubsrule uses up these darts on these couple fights here. Darts picked up the Shuriken and the Drain Sword and uses them to great effect to get through these fights a little bit faster.
Yep, definitely an effective strategy. If you have the sharp pointy things to throw, might as well use them to get through things, the boss fights a little bit quicker.
Definitely. Especially with Edge not having his vanilla gear that you would start off with in a Red Moon Seed. We have the Sineki flag on. He does not get the black belt and the bandana and the double short swords. He gets maybe a sword, maybe a claw, and nothing else. This one, we did get a middle sword, so he has some good gear. And Cubs did pick up a mute knife as well. But no real big power that Edge is known for.
Yeah, we see on Kyrios' side him going back and swapping the Rydia for a Palom. Maybe, I don't know. That's interesting.
I think we might have seen Kyrios save the Palom to keep him at level 10. Going to check this Eblan Cave shop, maybe looking for those coffins and hourglasses, and then just hit up Eblan Castle and get XP to get Palom to Quake.
Well, I mean, we can't always check out Eblan Cave twice.
Stardust Rod.
And I think that was some mute arrows.
Mute arrows definitely helpful if we can have to fight the Mad Ogres, get to hit that mage weakness that they have, get through them a little bit faster. But Stardust Rod, that's going to make Palom a beefy boy.
This really is shaping up to be a all-star team, and there are life pots and hourglasses in the Eblan shop.
And a Leviathan summon.
Leviathan Schmiathan.
I don't know. Leviathan is a real efficient way to take out 2/3 of those Zeppelin Castle trap chests real quick.
That's provided you keep the Rydia.
Oh, true. That's provided you keep the Rydia up with the Stardust Rod. It's so quick. It's so nice.
So fresh and so dead.
I guess we can also just use the, Stardust Rod a whole bunch of times and see what happens.
Yeah,
I guess.
Eventually it might kill things.
Eventually, one day, maybe next week. But it does look like Kyrios is gearing up, moving the gear around, setting up a Murderous Rosa and a Stardusty Palom in order to take on these Zeppelin Castle chests. Bought 3 hourglasses to take them all on.
Yep, gonna be a nice, quick, easy trip through this castle and get some. Hopefully, if the seed decides to go ahead and keep track with what it's been doing, we should see some relatively nice gear out of here.
Oh, definitely. The loot has been very generous. And of course, Zeppelin Castle, with the T Wildish waiting, has some very good odds to provide a tier 8 item in any of the 3 chests, which is why we're hunting them down. We've got, about a 68% chance that one of the 3 will have something. So it's a pretty alright move to come and poke your head in here and see what you can find.
Yep, now that's unless the seed decide to use all of its mojo on everything outside. In which case we're just going to see a bunch of zonks.
Oh, we found 2 crystal rings and a protect ring in the untrapped chest. That's pretty alright.
Yeah, but the people want to see the crystal swords, the X-Cows, the Hanzo Steel, the anything else for Kane.
Gungnir's acceptable. We can work with it.
Yeah. Just more darts for Edge.
We did pick up a glass hat on Kyrios' side, which is pretty solid. And Cubsrule, not having raced or brought the hovercraft over here and checked the shop to find those hourglasses, does find an hourglass in an untrapped chest, which will help out for this Mad Ogre fight specifically.
Yep, and having that glass hat will help against these Mad Ogres and anything else punchy because Cecil cover strats is definitely viable.
Definitely. That was a low roll from Edge. That was 800 damage with Mute Knife Long.
He's been taking notes from Kane. It's okay.
Yeah, there's that variant. 1680. Quad damage from the Mute or the Mage weakness is... You don't usually see only 800, but that is that Mute Knife's 75% accuracy coming into play.
Kyrios stealing a Bacchus, doing a little life glitching, getting a little bit more XP to send that slingshot a little bit further.
Which Palom and Cecil are both going to appreciate greatly, and this here is going to be 9480, double that into, 18960.
Yep.
Gets Palom all the way up to Virus, which is going to be quite nice with Stardust Rod. And I imagine that Rydia and Cecil on Cubs' side are going to be feeling pretty good. Also feeling pretty good. There it is.
There's
big
the
stick.
X-Cow.
Not the biggest stick, but, perfectly acceptable. X-Cow, You're not upset about seeing.
Throwing the cursed ring on the Palom with the Stardust Rod.
I mean, I don't dislike it necessarily. Palom isn't going to be doing a ton in the next fights. Ooh, White Spear. Mostly it's just going to be throwing an hourglass and then parrying around and maybe using the Stardust. But ultimately, you have Cecil with an X-Cal now. Mostly you just want to be getting that guy some turns.
Yep, and even though Palom has a curse ring on, he can still use that Stardust Rod.
Yep, to great effect. That isn't reliant on his wisdom stat. It's a fixed item power, so the damage will be the same, cursed or uncursed. But Rosa not quite at Berserk yet. We'll slow this down a smidge, and doesn't opt to use the Stardust. We just attack him.
We see Cubs going after the Baron Inn checks. Antlion, not on the moon, followed by a Plague, just kind of keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, not at the back attack spot. Curious.
Well, he's not very reliable, as he tends to count on the wrong things.
Perhaps so, perhaps so. But we've got Kane in the air. With the Flame Sphere on, we're going to hit the air weakness, do some double damage. Cecil's berserked. We've got about 500 hit points left on this thing. Shortchanging by just a bit. We have about 100 hit points left on this thing.
Do we need to change Edge's name or nickname to Patently Average Edge?
I don't know. He's just kind of the short changer in this one. Just a little low on the damage output.
On the Luca key. Very, very strong value on the surface. But getting a free heal out of a couple of boss checks is never a bad thing.
No, Baron Inn being 2, you don't really want to skip it a whole bunch. It's still a key item in our pocket to get us closer to that eventual 10. If we get to that point.
Yeah. We might see 6 or, 17.
It'll all depend on how the seed shakes out.
Yes, he won't be patently average Edge. He'll just be average.
That's a good one. And a little less average on Kyrios' side. Picked up a Murasame from that last trap chest, which will help him out. Plus 5 strength, a whole bunch of attack power, and
a crystal sword.
Stick. A crystal sword in the last Evelyn Castle trap chest. Kyrios is rewarded for being a little greedy and sticking around. Gets that extra sword, gets a lot of extra XP, and is ready to go blender mode on the rest of the seed.
Yep, with getting that crystal sword, that means that X-Cal frees him up for another dart for Edge.
True, and that will be real nice sometimes for a particularly mean King Queen Evelyn boss, for perhaps something sneaky on the moon, perhaps for something in the Fey March guarding our Darkness Crystal. There are a lot of nice uses for an X-Cal to the face.
Yep, because it's the discount spoon.
This is close enough for the most part. With enough levels, everything doesn't quad 9s anyway.
Yeah, it's the discount spoon that you have at home.
Yeah, we've got spoon at home. Spoon at home. This one can't even be worn by Edward. Sometimes you wish it could be. But you don't wish to find, or maybe do wish to find. Ogopogo at Fabul Defense. Not a bad find after you just got a whole bunch of levels, and it means that he's not going to be elsewhere in the seed.
No, because not a big health pool, but those actually no, those it's only the waves that would hurt.
Yeah, we're not getting any more actions. Chuckles over in Antlion Cave. Kyrios will find boss number 2.
See, it has jokes.
It's got jokes, it's got comedy, it's got clowns. Are we the clowns?
Are they the clowns?
Well, wait till you see. Just a crystal ring from Fabul Defense. We've got 2 of those from, or rather Kyrios at least has 2 of those from the middle tower of Eblin. I don't think Cubs went over there. So not a bad pickup for him. We'll give extra defense for the Cecil, extra agility for whoever wants it.
Yep, and judging by what we've seen here on the overworld, it's looking pretty barren.
Yeah, I haven't found a whole bunch. 2 whole key items. We will see if there's a third momentarily from this Golbez. But beyond that, Seed's kind of just, big neon sign pointing towards the Eblin Cave. Go underground.
Yep, this
cool
way
place.
Go. It's a cool place. It's where all the cool kids hang out.
Yeah, we've got hourglasses, we've got bosses, we've got some treasure chests that you're going to skip.
Oh, but speaking of skipping, do we think that Cubs is gonna fade Antlion?
Oh, he's parked right outside it. He's already checked Hobbs and the waterfall.
Yes.
I don't think so.
I saw him land there, and for some reason my brain was just kind of like, yeah, he's parked outside the Evelyn Cave.
There's a cave entrance. It's kind of the same.
Yeah,
Not
same
at all,
texture
but it's kind
pattern.
of the same.
It's the same texture pattern.
There's some shoals in the water. You can see water. Admittedly, you see some desert too. There's no desert around Evelyn, but it's close enough. I'll count it.
Yep. It's E for effort.
E for Evelyn Cave at home.
And speaking of caves, we see Cubs going into that Golbez fight, gonna take it handily and knock out his Rydia along the way.
And maybe Rosa too.
Interesting.
And maybe Kane too. Oh,
Maybe.
Kane silenced. I like this move. Taking out, since we're fast anchored, Golbez is going to take a little bit to get to the script. Plenty of time to take everybody out and set up, and you really don't want to just be left with 2 not great party members left alive. This way, you're guaranteed to have Cecil, who's going to hit Golbez for a lot of damage with that X-Cal, and Edge, who is pretty alrightly geared himself, and has a crystal ring on, so you get to skip the whole dialogue and paralysis text. Well, not the dialogue, Golbez has to talk.
Eventually, he'll have to talk. Yeah, with that fast anchor, you're gonna just go ahead and get a lot more hits in before Golbez really has, like you said, much time to do much of anything.
Yeah, no, he'll continue to talk, he'll set things up, he'll feed the Shadow Dragon a whole bunch of nothing, and Edge, of course, will continue to shortchange the damage. Oh, we've got about 50 hit points left on that Golbez, so we'll hit him for 3,000.
You wanted more damage, right? So how about an extra 3k?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, just trying to hit for his best and get to that quad damage category. Not quite getting there, and Cecil up above. Just hold on. Hold my discount crystal sword.
I mean, is it really a discount, or is the crystal sword like, X-Cal triple plus? The X-Cal is pretty good still.
Yeah, I think the X-Cal is like crystal sword light, or like crystal sword.
But the X-Cal is still better than every other weapon in the game. That's the thing. Calling it, diet or discount crystal sword is kind of like a disservice to as good as it is. Sure, it isn't as good as the crystal sword. I'll admit it. Well, you'll admit it. We've been talking about that. But is it bad?
Yeah, no. Maybe it will call it store brand.
Great value brand crystal sword.
Yep, it's we all like the name brand stuff, sure, but we all secretly want the store brand more.
Do we though? I don't know. Some of those store brand things really good. As good as or better. But every now and again, something comes along where you just can't. It tastes weird. It tastes off.
Yeah, and that's when you just kind of spoil yourself and get the store brand.
Spend the extra $1. It's all right. Cubs picks up a Leviathan, picks up a couple hourglasses and some life potions as well. Thank you, bud. No, he didn't buy Leviathan. His money didn't change that much. But did skip the Stardust Rod in that first chest, as we now approach basically boss parity between the 2 runners.
Yep. And we don't see Cubs going into... Well, unless he kind of double backs and goes back to Eblin to try for that crystal sword, but it looks like he's just gonna continue forward. With
picking up the ninja swords for sale there as well, you have a strong Edge, you have an X-Cal Cecil with a black belt. This is like perfectly fine damage. You can get through basically anything with what you have. Like going back for more XP, especially without having Palom and needing to get him to Quake, gets a little, why would you go back? I don't need to go back. I have plenty of levels. I've got great gear.
No, we must be power overwhelming.
Nah, yeah, you're right.
All the damage. But with Cubs keeping that Rydia and having Leviathan at his disposal now, he is going to go ahead and make up for a lot of that damage.
He'll make up for the damage, but the party composition sending Kyrios to stay and fight those extra chests for XP and getting rewarded for it is gonna help him make some incremental gains in later fights. Cecil, well, we said the X-Cal's good, and that it's no crystal sword. It will be a couple thousand damage chipping away every fight extra that Kyrios is doing that Cubsrule isn't.
And it looks like Cubs is going to go ahead and take that Matador chest, maybe hoping for a crystal sword or hoping for, I don't know, maybe a Hanzo Steel.
I'm not sure about a Hanzo Steel since he did purchase a ninja sword. Might be stealing some Bacchus ones. Although we do have Rosa and she knows Berserk. I don't know. Might just also, because he did skip those other chests, seeing the Octoman and knowing that is going to be resisting the holy damage that the X-Cal is doing, might just want a little more XP as well.
The big questions, big questions.
It's
What will
always big
happen?
questions. But you know
Stay
what
tuned.
isn't a big question? How cool our runners are. Shoutouts
I
to our runners for putting on this great race. We're here in the semifinals. We get to see two fantastic Blue Moon runners going at it. This here is, we're seeing them neck and neck on this hook route after a whole bunch of little divergences and then perhaps big divergences. That's going to be exciting to see how the rest of the seed shakes out.
Yep, and we see Cubs just making short change of that Madurga chest between Cecil and Edge actually doing comparable damage.
It takes 4 times damage from the mute knife to get there, but we got there.
We got there.
And just another crystal ring, the wrong one, or the wrong crystal for Cubs, but not a bad item. That's the 4th crystal ring we've seen in the seed, though. We're swimming in them.
Yeah, just all the bling.
All right, first boss, King Queen M1 spot, Mylon and friends.
Not a bad spot. Little punchy if you take out Mylon and leave his friends.
Very punchy if you take out Mylon.
But Pancreas, how punchy are they?
Oh, well, about maximum. Those gas get an absurd amount of physical attack compared to compared to the other bosses, because they don't really attack. It's kind of weird. But even a Ghast at full defense can be punching for over 4 digits. They are quite painful.
It's about as painful as if I recall correctly, if you berserk the Toad Lady.
Yeah, about. Or an egg.
Or an egg.
Don't berserk eggs or Toad Ladies, folks. They hurt.
They hurt a lot. And very quickly at that. Pointing out a statement from chat, the mild differences that we were talking about between X-Kyle and Crystal Sword. Well, here we see that as Kyrios went ahead and pulled ahead of Cubs by just a little bit because of that extra damage coming from the Crystal Sword.
Oh yeah, it's only about 1,000 damage more hit. Only 1,000 damage, he says, as though Edge is doing 1,000 damage. But at a spot like that, where it only has 5,000 HP, we're talking 2 hits versus 3 hits. And little incremental things like that are going to continue to add up over the course of the front. Plus just the extra strength bonus from the Crystal Sword.
Yep, and unfortunately though, none of that matters because Octomam has that holy resistance, and they're both doing about the same damage now.
About. Well, we'll see.
That was let's see. Well, actually, looks like Cubs' Cecil is doing a little bit more damage because he is zerked up. But I think that Cecil is still keeping around. Oh no, that Cecil is zerked up too. All right,
yeah, both Cecils are zerked.
And Octomam's slowing down as he loses tentacles, taking more damage. We are having some sushi, a little bit of calamari. Bekar's what? You're a sushi kind of guy, right?
Well, sushi's alright.
Sometimes.
In the right circumstances. I've been a little sushied out lately, because it's the simple suggestion for when I'm eating with friends. Everybody's like, oh, what do we get? Nobody knows what to get, so they're like, let's just go with sushi.
That is entirely fair. I think it's been a little while since I've had sushi. Could definitely go for like a tiger roll or maybe a California roll.
Rolls.
And speaking of rolls, we see Octomam rolling down to his death.
The crumble, the shake. Kyrios is through the Octomam, and there's the crumble for Cubs as well. Not far behind, but just a little bit.
About 15 seconds, give or take.
And the Murasame also for Kyrios. We saw a little bit of the difference in the damage that we saw the slight difference in the Cecil damage, but the Edge damage was also different. We were seeing about 300 to 400 more out of Kyrios's from the extra 5 strength and attack power of the Murasame versus just the Mute Knife that Cubs will have. Both of them bought a Ninja Sword, but only one of them has a Mura.
Yep. So I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to continue to pan out. Because Both of our runners are extremely skilled at this game. They're very well versed in different party comps, mechanics, uh, efficiency, routing, and so the gear is just all bonuses to them. What
Yeah,
I'm most curious to see is just what routing they end up taking now that they're both underground at pretty much the same time.
it'll be a little tricky. I'm wondering if Kyrios is going to do some shopping versus Cubs just beelining straight to Dwarf, or because Kyrios needs to get warp on that Palom before he goes and hits up Dwarf Castle. He's just a little shy, whereas Cubs has it already because of it being Rydia versus Palom. Rydia learns, warp at level 5 basically versus Palom at level 29.
Yep, and we see both of our runners making some omelets, getting a little bit of extra experience before heading either to Fame Arch or Dwarf Castle. The main difference here being that Cubs went ahead and popped the siren on Manor Deals versus Kyrios having both sirens.
Yeah, a little bit of extra power on that front will help out, but that means you gotta sit through all these extra level up text boxes. Cubsrule gets to start flying first. Them level up text boxes, they add up on you.
And on his way down to the down into the Fame Arch, it looks like we do have some effects going off for those who are sensitive to that type of effect.
Yeah.
To that visual stimuli. There we go.
We've got some lovely anti-flash effect things added in from our developers, Boardface. Initially added in to help combat the eye strain that such effects provide. Huge shout outs to the devs for all their wonderful work. Carrots, buy the carrots, Cubs.
Oh, he's gotta.
He's not going to, but he should. Carrots are great. They're a wonderful item. You should buy 99 of them.
99 of 99.
15 sirens is also acceptable. No, you have just enough for the carrots. 6,000. They only cost 4,950. You have plenty of money. Go back, Cubs. I don't think he's going back.
No, I don't think he cares. He's of the caring at all variety.
He doesn't care at all? What?
Nope.
Why not? I was rooting for you.
We have a DKC and a Mylon Z.
All right.
So a question to you then. With the Mylon Z being there, with Excal or Crystal in hand, do you take that spot?
Mylon Z, probably. Especially if you have the Glass Helm, you can back row that Cecil. He will take no damage. He's just going to sit there, do 1,000,000 damage to Mylon, fights over in 5 swings.
So
4 if you have the Crystal Sword.
Yep. That would actually be a lot of kind of bonus experience and maybe even a gating key item like Earth Crystal or Baron Key.
But it is that sort of gamble. We're looking for bosses, although we only have 2 key items.
Exactly. And with the Case Summon being on, because normally the Fame Arch is not exactly somewhere you want to double or even triple dip if you can avoid it.
But it might be a matter of Cubs not wanting to leave the Dark Knight Cecil behind. His HP is a little low, and we don't have a stack of Cure 3s to just heal through it as we would on Redman. We have maybe some Cure 2s, and Rosa with 900 hit points knowing Cure 3.
All right, so hear me out. We take the Curse Ring off of Rydia.
Okay.
And we do a 66% chance of healing with Asura.
Okay. One small issue with the plan. She's gonna die to the first wave. Cubs has kind of been keeping Rydia down. That spot, it's about 600 to 700 damage on a dark wave.
Yep, and we see that on Cubs' side, him using that pan that he got from the Fate March to its full advantage, and swinging back by the Tower of Wishes to get Dong and his party out, taking out the king.
I like this, kind of.
I do. I'm intrigued.
No, I like this. I like this because what have we found for Kane? Kyrios picked up the white.
we have a Yanker.
We have a Yanker temporarily. Oh, I
Oh,
see. Okay.
because
With
of
the
a
Bahamut
Blar.
summon, it's a little too powerful to just throw to the side.
Yep,
But
and we are going to have that Rydia in full effect.
yeah, Bahamut Asura, she can heal, she can do damage, she can cast warp. That's all you need.
Yep, she's a one-stop shop for all things summon. Actually, she's the only person that can summon, but that doesn't mean she's not a one-stop shop.
And even if we were picking up Yang to just replace Kane, it's still a great move because Cubs had a Flame Spear for that Kane. He doesn't have the Gungnir that Kyrios had, or the White Spear. He has a Flame Spear. That's not exactly what I call endgame gear.
No, no, because, well, I was gonna make a pun about being fired, but I saw the dropping off of the hovercraft in the middle of the water. While it can go over water, you do have to start on land before you can drive it around.
Just a bit. It does take a moment to drive over. And then Cubs lands next to it, thinking, do I have the tails? No, wait, I have the pan. I don't have the tails. We're going to go, and we are going to go turn in this pan. Let's see what we pick up.
Yep, and we see on Kyrios' side him picking up the Sand Ruby, as well as half of Forge.
I mean, I love Forge, especially with this party. There's a ton of good hits that you can get, but Sand Ruby, just another key item coming towards our 10 total.
Ooh, and Cubs picking up a Tower Key. Some Samurai Arrows and a Tower Key. Yeah, I like it. And, you know, honestly, I've seen some Tower of Babel plays that are, well, very much worthwhile having done. You know, doing a save right before Super Cannon, kind of, I don't want to say tiered saves, but kind of staggered saves. So
Yeah,
this way, if you're, you know, your key item where your boss doesn't check out and kill this tower, you just pop right over into Super Cannon and get that done.
oh yeah, one of the great things about using all your save slots, you can easily manage them and put them to great use for that save screening sorts of things.
Yep. However, just don't save over your spot over and over again in front of Luca.
Nah, and if you save outside of Luca in slot 4, and you save inside of Luca in slot 1, be sure that you press the up arrow twice so you don't start a new game instead of going outside.
Speaking from personal experience?
Once or 6 times.
Yeah, sounds about right. That checks out.
I even had a moment where I knew it was going to happen, and then I tried to do it, and my controller eats my second up input, so I started a new game. It was great.
It's great. So yeah, you just kind of pick up everything from the start. Go faster. And we see Cubs doing some grind early, grind often strats. While on Kyrios' side, he is opting to take that Mylon Z fight down over in the Fate March.
I mean, I like it. Because Kyrios has the Crystal Sword, this fight's over in 4 hits. Even Unberserk Cecil, it's over in 4 hits. This is going to be super quick, and it is that chance at a key item. Kyrios also having those extra levels is a little more geared to take on that Dark Knight Cecil. Oh, but has no MP on Rosa. That will make it a little difficult to take on Dark Knight Cecil.
Yeah, although actually, Kyrios did steal at least one Bacchus, so he can just kind of steamroll through that TKC fight if he just pops a Bacchus on Cecil.
Oh, the Baron Key from Mylon Z. That's a great pickup.
Spicy, and I love it.
Who was our starting boss? Was just Magus Sisters, so we do know that one of the bosses in Baron is not required, but the other 2 are still mysterious. With only 2 bosses and not a lot of key items under our belt, it's going to be quite nice. It's a nice bit of peace of mind in having that.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm kind of here for seeds like this. Don't get me wrong, I love finding 5 or 6 bosses, on the overworld, and then just literally face checking the rest of the game. But getting a couple bosses here, a few bosses there, a couple bosses wherever else, it adds a bit more mystery and a bit more surprise to when you do actually find them.
Oh yeah. Now, of course, we are still missing the ever-hanging darkness crystal.
Oh yes,
need that.
And we actually have not seen any of our runners do the Rex banner check over in Zod.
Not opting out of it, might be saving it for a little more of an Earth Crystal time, and plus, with us still needing so many bosses, a gamble like that might not be at the forefront of their minds. That said, though, Cubsrule does skip Dwarf Castle, charges down Luca, is going to be checking this boss before taking on, or even checking both the Dwarf Castle ones.
And we see Kyrios having done a little bit of party rearranging to go ahead and take on that DKC.
Alright, we should be through with this. This Cure 2 will take us out of the range. That is the elements in Luca Cave.
Rewarded.
And perhaps reblurred momentarily.
Stand by. Now the question is, will Kyrios be double rewarded for taking down DKC?
Well, we'll find out. Had one little stumble. A Murasame is a nice item, but we already had one. We have a ninja sword. Should be fine without it.
I mean, you know, it sells for money.
True, it does sell for money. And of course, you know, with key items in short supply, we might be wanting some money to buy a whole lot of sirens. Cubs picked up 15, Kyrios bought 10, but maybe we want even more than that.
Yeah, but if we bought more than that, we wouldn't have anything left for the carrots.
Both runners had plenty of money to buy so many carrots. And even that Murasame can be traded for a lot of carrots. I mean, sirens. There's plenty of money left over to buy the carrots.
Look, they just
it's all in one shop, runners. Go back and buy them.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got a dead carrot, a sort of vegetable on Cubsrule21's side. That Yang in the middle being all orange and horizontal-like.
Yang's didn't go through all those years of karate training to be called a carrot. He's more of a noodle.
I mean, an unboiled noodle.
Is a carrot an unboiled noodle? Your thoughts?
Yes.
Explain.
Well, it starts off in the ground. It grows from the ground. It's stiff, and it is edible.
Can't argue with that. But what can you... So, noodles have a binding agent, usually, right? Some water, I guess carrots have water. What about egg? If it's an eggy noodle, carrots don't have egg. Or do they?
I don't think they have egg, but I do believe that both taste good with a bit of butter.
Alright, well, can't argue with that one.
That's it.
We've got buttered carrot noodles as Kyrios heads on back to Fabul to single dip. Cubs picks up his third boss in that elements in the Luca Cave. That's going to be a great pickup. A little bit of peace of mind, a little bit of rewarding for that gamble to play. And now we've got the runners just kind of retreading their steps a bit. Cubs did do this Ogopogo before heading underground. Kyrios opted to fade it. But, you know, with a big shiny sword in hand, both of them make sense.
Yep, they're just, you know, a couple of buddies wanting to wave to each other.
Cubs, you still almost have enough for 99 carrots. Even after all those coffins. And you're looting, that's plenty of money. I'll stop.
Full moon. Anyone?
Great.
Back row that. I'm gonna back row that edge.
Yeah, we could also buy a couple ninja stars. Nice darts to have. Ninja hats. Nice hats to have. Get a little bit of that strength boost on our Zerkers that we've got lying around.
Yep, have a little bit of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on our side.
Cowabunga, man.
Alright, and we see Kyrios turning in that pen, getting his tower key. And Cubs on his side, about to go ahead and knock out those couple of bosses over in Dwarf Castle. And I didn't see it on Cubs' side. Did Cubs actually, after taking down elements, go through and just pick up the item?
You have to grab the item beforehand.
Yes, right. So that actually does cut down on a bit of time on Cubs' side because he doesn't have to do the warp glitch.
Yeah, but you have to take like the 10 extra steps in Luca Cave because you didn't do the warp glitch. So who can say? It kind of all averages out. Because
Does
once
it?
you hit that spot on the bridge where the boss would be, like you just get it. You don't have to walk all the way in, recheck the item, walk out of the crystal room. You just hit it beforehand. You get to skip like 2 whole screen transitions. That's pretty big.
Oh boy. Yeah, because it's not like the Cave Magnus, where you get to go into the crystal room and exit from the crystal room.
You can exit from the crystal room in Dwarf Castle though if you do the warp glitch.
Yep.
That's fun.
Finely coded game.
Very finely coded. You can't exit from Luca Cave, but you can exit from the room that is Luca Cave. Wait. We don't ask about it.
You can, but you can't, but you can if you can.
And that kind of sums up FF4 in a nutshell. You can until you can't, but you probably can, but you can't. But with enough run buffers, you can.
With enough run buffers done at exactly the right frame, you too can have a multi-color paletted Dark Knight Cecil at back attack.
Alright, Kyrios walks into Baron, is going to take on these Magus Sisters with his 0 agility Palom Quake. Gonna be interesting to see where Cubs goes after this. You're kind of funneled into just going to the tower at this point. You don't have the Baron key from that Fame Arch. You've already checked Luca, you've turned in the Pan. This is just the Sand Ruby, as you don't have any other key items to chase. It's just the tower key and the Bahamut at the top of tower.
Yep, because if Baron actually turns out to be just a pure nothing check, it's gonna, and Cubs just goes and chases down that tower key and it winds up being something. That is a huge time saver.
Oh yeah, definitely. That said though, if the Baron key leads to the Darkness Crystal, that is still unfound 49 minutes and 50 seconds into the seed.
Holy cow, it's already been 50 minutes.
Yep, surprise.
Surprise, we do words for 50 minutes and don't even realize it.
And you know who else has been doing things for 50 minutes? Our behind the scenes crew. Shoutouts to Alice L and Mechalink for all of their work so far in putting on this production. And of course, once more to our runners, a fantastic job. We're seeing Divergence, we're seeing Buttons. I love this game.
Yep, and also a huge shout out to my co-commentator, X Pancras, runner of many things, button pusher of even faster of many things.
I just say words. The more work is putting up with the carrot talk. Thank you, Blue, for being here.
It's no trouble at all. Because I, unlike some people, care. And I care at all the right times.
That's good. That's good. It's good to care at the right times. I mean...
Of course.
All right. Cubs opts to skip the tower key at first, going straight to the Bahamut at the top. As Kyrios approaches the Baron trash can, it's just a coffin. That's not a key item, let alone a Darkness Crystal.
Well, there is still one more check here at Baron Castle that could have some payout.
Could have some payout? Could have a long, annoying fight that leads to nothing. Wyvern, anyone?
Yep, I am here for a Wyvern in the Odin spot check because that magic attack power will be off the charts.
It is quite a bit.
Question. We're starting to see an upcoming of the key items, but not necessarily key items that are gating. It is a Baigan in this spot, and boy does he punch hard there.
Oh yeah.
And my question is answered. It looks like Kyrios is going to go and take that spot, hopefully get a gating key item because of K-Summon. We see on Cubs' side, speaking of summons with potential key items, going after a Bahamut, doing lots of shiny sticks, slashing and stabbing.
Oh yeah, and both runners, both these make a lot of sense. We have, what is this? I'm counting 6 key items, ultimately at the 52-minute mark. No Darkness Crystal in hand. No anything, really. we're still missing access to 1, 2, 3, 4 bosses between the two runners outside of everything on the Darkness Crystal. That's just not a great look when we're looking for so many bosses still out there.
Agreed. And yeah, just we got 6 on Cubs' side and 7 on Kyrios' side, and it's looking like it's, I don't know. I mean, will we have an answer with an Earth Crystal reported to Kyrios?
That will be a pretty nice pickup. Ooh, and the dolls in the tower key will also be a nice pickup. That is one of our required bosses.
Ooh, buddy.
But the Baron Rabbit Hole does continue. Kyrios has to walk out this Earth Crystal, commit to that gamble that you started when you decided to take that Mylon Z. Rules of Grimoire Bahamut. Well done, Cubs.
Oh, very well done.
But now we have a very important question. Will Kyrios go to the treasury?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
We have a crystal sword, we have a Mura edge, we have a white spear cave. Why would you go to the treasury?
Well, why?
Ooh. Interesting move here. We aren't going straight to the Earth Crystal. Might just be doing a half tower here to get the Enterprise back so you don't leave the stinky boat at Troya.
Yep. And actually, yeah, that's actually a relatively good play, because if this ends up being something like maybe a Twin Harp, it would be very good routing to go ahead and do Zot and then Twin Harp, or vice versa.
Is dropping the save in the middle, which says to me that he's going to do basically exactly what Cubs just did. Go to the top, fight that, reset out if Bahamut is nothing, which we know it is. It is a K-main spot, has a decent shot of having something. We know it's a tiara, so joke's on you, Kyrios, but...
Oh ho! And what will we get out of doing Super Cannon?
This will tell us kind of the layout of the rest of the seed, because there's only really 2 spots this Darkness Crystal can be. Survey says... Well, we have to wait.
Survey says, hold please.
Hold please. Your key item check is important to us.
Yep. Key item check is important to us, and one of our representatives will be with you momentarily. I may or may not have worked in a call center.
Just a ribbon. All right. Well, that tells us where is this, or rather, what is behind this Earth Crystal. Only 2 options. It can be the Darkness Crystal outright, or it can be the Twin Harp leading to the Darkness Crystal. There's no other options.
That's kind of wild when you think about it. That it's such a straight tunnel path, where it's literally you clear everything that you can. All the way up to
that's
this
kind
point.
of been the seed.
Yeah,
like, we have a whole bunch of branching paths that you could go down, and ultimately only one of them's the right one. Everything else, dead end.
Yep, and we see Cubs doing a little bit more egg grinding, probably just so he has a little bit more of a safety net for going it down and hopefully taking that Mylon Z down in Fey March.
I imagine he's fine with the Mylon Z, and that we're grabbing some XP or some HP to make sure that we can survive the Dark Knight Cecil real easily. Or maybe both. We did buy these 15 Sirens before hitting, or on our first dip, so not a bad move to grind some of them right here and now. You can basically set up the rest of your seed. And if you think that the Darkness Crystal is outright in the Fey March, then you're not hitting 10 before Darkness, you just want to go, go, go.
Exactly. And we are up to 7 key items on Cubs' side, 8 on Kyrios, I think, if my counting is correct. 6, 7, 8. Yep.
Yeah, Kyrios will be hitting 9 off the rat tail from this tower.
Yep, which does put us closer to that double XP. So when our runners do get to the moon, they're just gonna... I don't even think they need to really do anything like Gold Dragon grinding or Warlocks or anything like that. They can just literally do the bosses up there.
And Kyrios, once you complete the Earth Crystal, you're guaranteed to hit 10. So holding off grinding a little bit for him makes sense as well. He bought a couple less Sirens, but you also will need a few less levels with the Crystal Sword at hand.
Yep, and if you do see an especially rude boss somewhere on the moon, you do have the sirens just in case you want to go and do some quick leveling. But with Crystal Sword, uh, whether it's Protect Ring or Crystal Ring, Cecil, I mean, it's just back row, blink, you're done.
Yeah, Blink is a great spell. Berserk, a greater spell. We're going to be able to just tear everything apart with a lot of safety. The Glass Hat Crystal Ring that we picked up as well from Evelyn Castle, so much defense. We'll be able to keep the Cecil super safe. The back row glitch as well, allowing the Cecil to do full damage. There shouldn't be a whole lot of things that threaten you. You should be able to just kind of blitz through the moon real nicely and quickly. Unless, of course, the gauntlet shows its head. That kind of throws a whole giant, potentially dragon-shaped wrench in the works.
Very much. And once we see Cubs down here get his Baron key, I don't think, neither of our runners have any reason to go back underground unless it is exactly Forge.
No, and with that being the only thing leading you down there, I don't think you're unfortunately going to Forge, unfortunately.
No. Not unless, maybe our runners are, wanting to pick up maybe a white shirt or, potentially a Zeus gauntlet.
Yeah, a couple nice things from that Forge shop would be go a long way. Power shirts, Zeus gloves, a 3rd Mura for your edge, a 7th crystal ring. But again, these are just nice to have items. We already have all this power in our Cecil. We don't need to go and get a little extra.
Yeah, but there's a little thing called retail therapy, and it's with the items that this seed has been producing. I mean, power shirts, Zeus gauntlets, 47,000 more crystal rings. Yeah, we definitely want them. All the shinies.
I mean, what else are you gonna spend your money on?
Yeah. Who spends money on Bacchus wines and Star Veils?
Bacchus wines, Star Veils, hourglasses, sirens. We don't need them. Carrots, well, once. But beyond that, it's just going to be burning a hole in your pocket.
Yep.
Now, ultimately, is it worth spending that time to burn the hole or to unburn the hole in the pocket? Who can say?
Yeah. Once in a blue moon, though.
Once in a blue moon. But Kyrios does find this Elements, slams it with the Crystal Sword Cecil, tips over to Elements phase. Without this Berserk ready, this could be a little painful. Ruby form also will be resisting. Never mind, we've got the Protect Rings on Cecil and Kain, not taking any extra damage from those fire counters. Or not counters, but fires.
Yes, Protect Rings on Cecil and was that Cecil and Edge, and then Crystal Rings for everyone else except for Paladin.
And bada bing bada boom, Kyrios picks up his 4th objective in the Elements.
Yep, one noticeable difference actually, Kyrios will have to warp out of Luca, whereas Cubs will just go ahead and get to exit right out.
Oh, from their current checks. But of course, Cubs still has to go and do that Baron Castle check. Kyrios has the Earth Crystal already in hand from the basement, so we'll be able to just head on over there as soon as we've exited out. Which means we're going to finally get to see something new in a little bit. Let's go. We've been seeing new things the whole time. What am I talking about?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the, just kind of following back through each other's footsteps.
Yeah, and this seed has, the seed with its branching paths has had a lot of that. And also just these runners being so close together is having a lot of that. Each of them, there's a small lead here, there's a little bit less of a small lead here. It all depends on how things shake out, and we've been seeing a lot of back and forth.
Yep, I mean that's exactly what happens when you get a couple of really really skilled runners like Kyrios and Cubsrule21, and you put them up against one another. You get that divergence and the retracing and the convergence on a lot of different spots.
Kyrios traps the hovercraft. We can't quite turn in the rat tail yet, but we'll get over there.
Nope, they know how to drive the car. They just can't get anywhere with it.
Somebody, blocked him in, parked a boat in front of the driveway. Who would do that?
Nobody from Texas.
Surely not. Surely not.
Worry not, folks. I do not drive a boat, and I do not drive a truck to block said boat in.
You said boat twice.
I know what I said.
But Kyrios picks up that ribbon from the rat tail, not the value he's looking for, not a 10th key item either. So it's kind of funneled into just going to Troya. We've got one option, skips the treasury, we don't need it, we've got a crystal sword.
Yep, now an additional question comes to be, does Cubs check the treasury? I feel like there's a small chance that he would.
If you asked me before the Fey March, I'd say maybe, because he's rocking Mute Ninja, but he got the Murasame from that. That's kind of the last thing you'd be looking for Cubs.
Yeah.
Is a second edge weapon. You've got an Exhale for Cecil, you've got great edge weaponry. You have Bahamut Rydia. You have no, he doesn't have the life staff. He has a Lunar Staff for Rosa, Crystal Rings galore. You've got a lot of solid defensive and offensive equipment. Like, going in there is just for exactly a Crystal Sword, Power Shirt, Zeus Glove, more or less.
Probably, I mean, at most, Stardust, Sorcerer for Rydia, because she doesn't really have much.
No, she might be in base gear.
I think Cubs picked up a Charm Rod for her from the Evelyn shop, but that's about it.
Yeah, not exactly high wisdom.
No, but that's okay. I mean, when you have Leviathan and Bahamut, you don't really need a whole lot.
Nah, they've got enough base damage to kind of get through things. Kyrios finds the Zot 1 boss. It is guards, but not our third objective, Kaipo guards, just the Baron guards.
Yes, folks. Just bear in mind that regardless of which cards you do get, they both can be affected by various spells like Mute, Coffins, Stone, Weak. And to answer a question in the chat, Kyrios did do the Odin Throne. That ended up being...
That's the Earth Crystal.
The Odin Throne was the Earth Crystal, right? I was thinking of the King's Throne, which was
our
just a
Baron
coffin.
Pot is just that coffin. You could throw that coffin at those Kaipo or Baron guards, or maybe Kaipo guards if we do find them. But until then, it's just gonna sit there with all the other coffins.
Alright, and I'm gonna lean in here because I see a pig with white ears. Are you familiar with the pig meta?
Mostly. Looks like we've got a yellow-eared piggy in the second spot. The second spot ears is the one that matters, because we get a slight clue of this boss before we see it. Yellow ears is our blue and purple robe palettes, so this could be the Gauntlet, this could be Keinatsu, this could be the Kaipo guards. It cannot be Asura. No, wait, maybe it can be Asura. I forget Asura's palette. It's Asura! Prove me wrong, game. I can't visualize Asura for whatever reason, but all of our bosses have the yellow ears, and this here is one of our required ones. Kyrios finds an objective on the way to our objectives in the Darkness Crystal, and will be sitting comfortably at 5 when he gets that in his hand.
Yep, and it's completely understandable that you can't picture Asura freshly in your mind with all of those different faces she has. Whether it's casting Cure 4, 3, or the Life spell.
That's what it was. I was thinking of Cure 4 face instead of Life 1 face. How could I?
It's always that gray face.
It's always gray face when you try to cast it. That's
there's one thing, actually, now that I have you here in the booth, a question to you. So we know that, we bounce the walls of the Start Veils, so that Asura doesn't cast it on herself, and instead cast it on your party. But why is it that Asura can't actually revive one of your party members?
Because the reflected spells can only target living people. It's the same reason why you can't cast Cure 4, or the Cure 4 can't hit a corpse, or your Lit 3 you can't hit an enemy that isn't there. You can only target living things, which applies for the monsters too. So your Life 1 spell, even you can still target Life 1 on a living person in battle. So when the Life 1 reflects, it still hits a living person and can actually hit the dead corpse to revive them.
And speaking of absolutely nothing at all, both of our runners simultaneously getting their respective crystals. The Earth Crystal on Cubs' side, and the Darkness, ever elusive Darkness Crystal on Kyrios' side.
We've been hunting that for about 67 minutes now, and it's finally in our hands. We can now max giant grind.
All right, let's get Rydia to Medio.
Rydia to Medio, Kyrios to Medio.
Media to
Or not
Rydio.
Kyrios to Medio, Palom to Medio. Will Kyrios take them to Medio? Probably not. With the sirens in hand, I can see just a couple gold dragons maybe when we're on the moon, or maybe he will just do that boss rush blitz rather. Try to find the Kaipo guards, Kenatsu, the gauntlet as a grind. We've got a couple options.
Couple of options indeed. I think we might be experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties.
Yeah. Hold please.
So hold please, bear with us. Doop 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 doop.
Do. Insert some jazz saxophone here.
You know, speaking of jazz saxophone, I did go to, I don't know if you've heard of it, the New Worlds concert, where it's intimate music from a Final Fantasy.
Oh, that's fun. I've heard of that. There's one of those that just happened, or there was one of them in like the Georgia, Alabama area, I want to say recently, too.
Oh, fancy. I will say that it, very, very beautiful music. And speaking of music, we are back with our runners. It looks like Cubs is running up the Zot Tower to go ahead and eventually do something there. Meanwhile, on Kyrios' side, we were able to go ahead and skip the entire transition to the moon.
Yeah, picks up or raises the whale. We don't know if he checked the shop for Bacchus wines. Sees a sparkle over on the Bahamut altar, checks his bosses. I don't need no sparkles. Resets out.
Sparkles, nah, it's fine. Although, that does help out that none of our boss checks are sparkles indeed. So that does help eliminate, is that 5 bosses?
Oh yeah, 5 bosses that we have no need to ever fight or check. Admittedly, we already fought Plague, and we fought Ogopogo at Fabold, or where was Plague actually? I forgot.
Plague was Baron 2.
Baron in 2, that's correct. And Ogopogo at Fabool Defense, we didn't need either of those two, so we can just reset out. Or rather, just skip.
Yep, and I think we saw, no, it was Dark Elf at, I feel like we saw Pale Dim.
We might have seen Pale. No, that was Dark Elf.
That was
we have
Dark
not
Elf
seen
Mark
Pale
II.
Dim.
Correct, otherwise we'd be making all the French jokes.
Yeah. No Doot coming out today, although, except in your trombone simulators, we are here in the Giant, listening to the Doots of the background theme. Kyrios is opting to check these 2 bosses after the Bahamut Peak. And of course, note from our chat and from our restream crew, Cubsrule is experiencing some controller issues, had the controller die and had to grab another one. Looks like it's back in time just now to continue on with his Zot dive. Oh, we did see Pale Dim. That's right. Pale Dim was in Dwarf too.
Oh, yes.
Dwarf. Dude. Oh.
Yep. Oh. Speaking of, well, more boss checks. Giant having a huge payout.
Yeah, we find the Kaipo guards at the element spot. Nice, quick, easy fight. We also have the opportunity to get a lot of experience here. We have coffins in hand, we have life glitches. I want to see about 400,000. Quick, run buffer.
Gotta go fast. Gotta go so fast that Sonic the Hedgehog wouldn't be able to keep up.
Looks like our battle speed is a little lower on Kyrios' side, so it does get off the triple life glitch on the officer. That is going to be a nice chunk of experience. Should be able to basically circumvent a grind at this point with this giant amount of XP.
Yep. Haha, I see what you said there. Giant amount of XP.
Ha!
Haha, I am here for it. And Kyrios making those coffins put in the extra effort, just knocking out, just completely bypassing all of that giant health pool. Says, I don't want to deal with that today. So that's 499,000 experience I just saw.
You saw a lot. Enough
Rosa.
to get Rosa to white, enough to get Palom to weak. We have plenty of levels at this point.
Yep. So, actually, I think at this point, do you just run up to the CPU spot, or do you go back and save to save?
With all those life glitches, it's still a lot of time. This
Yeah.
isn't so much a safety save as it is a, preserve the experience that I have save. You don't want to have to redo that, even though it wasn't a super long fight. It still takes about a minute to do all of that again, and that's not time that you want to do or have to redo in case, say, it's the gauntlet here and the D machine is angry.
Yep, and chat pointing out that it was 484,000, and we have weak on Palom, so we can do our D money grind now.
Yay! And we're right here. We have the reset at the save point, and we cast Warp. That's the wrong W spell.
But it starts with a W. That counts, right?
Yeah, more or less. Kyrios caught in the time loop, goes back to the elements room, and then decides to walk instead. It's a little hard to keep track sometimes of all the return doors. This is going to take him right back again. Ooh.
Are we going to do the time warp?
Well, Kyrios is experiencing a little bit of deja vu.
And
yeah, the return doors in the Giant are a little tricky because everything just kind of keeps incrementing, so it takes you back one room rather than like going back to the previous room. The previous room is, the room that you were just in, and it keeps doing that and storing all that with a whole bunch more, nitty-gritty technical stuff. So if he warped about 6 more times, you'd get out of there, but who wants to cast warp that many times? I'd rather walk.
Yeah, at a certain point, you either succumb to continually casting warp because eventually you'll get out, or you just walk out.
Yeah, just walk. You can leave, hit the bricks.
Yep, or in this case, hit the ground as you land back on the overworld, as Kyrios goes and starts to make his way to the moon. So we were half right. He did use the lunar whale to fly up into the sky. It just was not to the moon. It was to the giant of Babel instead. And speaking of moon, we see Cubs raising the lunar whale on his side.
Yep, quick pit stop over at Bahamut Cave later. Kyrios ready to face check the LST, and at this point you're only looking for one of 2 bosses. Gotta pick up a gauntlet or a Kenatsu anywhere on this moon.
Yep, and with Kyrios being now in face check mode, we hear in the booth and in chat, we are still not in any kind of mode yet, whether it's go mode or no mode.
No, and even with this entire LST ahead of us, we aren't guaranteed to be in go mode. We are still missing the Twin Harp and the package, which holds 2 boss checks. We are missing 2 bosses. So, it's unlikely, but it is possible that every spot here on the LST is an unrequired boss, and we are on a mad hunt through all of the LST altars to try to find a package or a Twin Harp.
Yep, and we see on the Cubs' side, swinging by the shop and not finding anything that he's looking for.
Poking his head, that's an extended pause. That is our alt gauntlet on Kyrios' side. Boss number 7 has been found.
Cheesy fanfare brought to you by. And that is a cheeky, very, very cheeky alt gauntlet because if I recall, in this particular spot, clappers are going to be there.
No clappers, that's a Fame Arch enemy.
That's a Fate March enemy. Okay.
Well, we have our Ging Ryus, we have our King Ryus, we have D-Bones and Warlocks. We will have some red giants showing their head shortly. It's going to be a nice, hefty chunk of XP to round out the Kaipo Guards XP that we got as well, though. Chat loves second grind. We love second grind. Kyrios is probably appreciating the conclusion of first grind to get Palom all the way to nuke and to get Rosa a lot, or rather to get Cecil a whole bunch more strength to do even more damage with that crystal sword.
Yep, and speaking of things that make the seat go by that much quicker, Pancras, we were just talking not hardly 20-ish minutes ago about there's no bosses, we've got hardly any gated key items, and now look, we're on the 7 to 7 bosses. We have half the key items, and this seed literally took a turn for go mode.
Oh, well, that's how it'll be when you're funneled into just one path. The Barren Key to the Earth Crystal to Darkness, with bosses along the way, are going to give you a whole bunch, or rather, give you a whole bunch of security in terms of what bosses you don't have access to. Ultimately, we were just missing 2 with the Twin Harp and the package. And with the Giant Check, with the LST providing this value, well, we're going to get out of here in not too much time at all. Kyrios is onwards to the 4th fight of this gauntlet already, and that only the double King Ryu's left to go, as Cubsrule takes on the Kaipo Guards as well. It's going to come down to the wire a bit, but I imagine that Kyrios is going to have a comfortable time with that crystal sword in hand.
Agreed. And with neither of our runners having found the pass yet, they're actually both still going to have to walk down that LST.
The LST walk. Good old LST. You try to circumvent it by peeking the Murasame altar? No, you're walking.
Yep, and I know that's more or less on Kyrios' side that his levels are comfortable, Crystal Sword, Cecil, but if you roll just the wrong way on that Z fight, even with the group comp that you've got, if you wipe to Z, then that's actually gonna give your opponent a little bit of makeup time.
True. I mean, we're not super out of it. Those aren't the right words. There's a chance of a missed nerf timing onto Cecil to nuke, or he eats a nuke to the face into a full powered Big Bang that kills everybody. But these HP totals only are going higher.
Yep. Yeah, because second grind.
Second grind? Everybody loves second grind.
Because you've heard of first grind, but how about second grind?
Oh, it looks like Kyrios is going for even more grind. Opts to life glitch that back King Ryu. Wants the full 180,000 from this encounter.
I mean, yeah. Because power overwhelming with more levels, and well, Yang would be very, very happy right now.
He would be quite powerful. Cubs starts fighting this D-Lunar, sets off the counter script. Here comes the viruses, 5,000 damage, 4,800 damage, takes the reset.
Yep, because
Sorry, you were saying that we didn't have a pass? Well, there we are, the pass from the Murasame altar. We will not get to walk out or walk down the LST. We get to exit, go back to Troya, and use that pass.
I am okay with being wrong in scenarios like that. That is okay.
I mean, when the pass rears its head, you can't just pass that, let that opportunity pass you by. You gotta take it. Seize it.
Yep, and with that, we see Kyrios on the Lunar Whale, not passing the landing spot that so many of our runners have missed and kind of crashed into the town, going back to flight school.
Flight school is an important part of the game.
It's a very valuable learning experience. My co-commentator, X-Pancras, is it time to go to bed? I know it's starting to get late, the sun's going down.
It's 5:30. The sun's still up, right? Let me go peek out the window.
I mean, I still see sunlight on my end. It's,
I
but
can't see the sun. There's too many clouds. So maybe it's bedtime? I don't know.
It's bedtime most places. So on that note, folks, we'll see you later. Have a good night, and yeah, take care.
Take care. Bye. No, we're not saying bye. We're saying hello to Zemus, the final boss of the game. We have our Z flags in the chat indicating one of our wonderful randomizer features. Our art dev Scala Kitty has done tremendous work, putting in over 570 Zemus sprites. We randomize his outfit because we do not randomize his location. And thus, we have to ask a very, very important question as we load into this Zemus fight.
That very important question is, whose butt will we kick tonight? Is Butt cute? Does Butt have a hat? Does Butt have a butt? Is Butt, metaphorically, in the sense of emotions, an absolute butt?
Is the butt an identity element in the field of all butts? It's hard to say.
Yeah, there's no buts about that, though.
No ifs, ands, or buts. We wonder, in the name of the blue moon waxing, whose butt will we be punishing momentarily? The crystal is thrown, Kyrios is geared up, and his true colors emerged.
Grr, harg.
Oh, there's so much pause. There's so much.
Balrogmus.
Balrogmus. This here is the Crimson Balrog, an enemy from the MMO game by Nexon, Maple Story. This sprite was added in by the one and only X Pankraz.
I
am thrilled to see it.
You know what? Check that out. I mean, you do comms, and you get your sprite on stream.
And it is a great sprite. Question chat, does the skull mask count as a hat? I'm going to say yes. It's got some horns that seem to be coming out from it. It's got a little pokey thing. I'm going to call it a hat.
I call it a hat because you put it on your head.
That's a much more robust definition than I was working with.
It's a cover that slips over the top of your existence.
It's a piece of headwear, and that's close enough to be a hat. It even has a nose hole, a great observation. It's not a full face mask. It's kind of like a Mardi Gras mask combined with something to cover. It covers the top of the head. It's a hat. It's a hat.
And that's the part that matters.
And that's a 5,400 damage swing from that Crystal Sword Cecil. We've got Cecil, Kane, and Edge all berserked. We're pumping out about 10,000 damage around in Berserkers. We have nukes flying. This is going to be a quick Zemus fight.
Yep, and as chat pointing out, he does in fact have a butt.
Yeah, there probably. We can't quite see, but there's probably a butt back there.
And if you fought him in Maple Story, he is a bit of a butt. So
100%.
All right, we see Cubs getting to go through his Fabul Gauntlet.
Begins it up, starts fighting the dragons. They are in the way, standing between Cubsrule, his crystal, and the pass.
Yeah, and so we're an hour and 6 minutes into the seed. I feel like at this point, maybe if you're the type of runner that you don't have this, or that you do have Discord open, you haven't seen the dot done. Do you do those cheeky checks, like instead going full top down, or maybe checking that Crystal Sword altar to try and hopefully get your 7th check, or do you just kind of play things as normal?
Oh, well, that's the neat thing. This is the 7th check. This is go mode for Cubs, and I've been monitoring the race room for probably about 10 minutes now, as soon as I found the Kaipo guards. Or as soon as I zonked out on finding that Earth Crystal.
You are absolutely correct. I looked down and I saw 5, and I'm like, wait a second.
And you might have looked down and missed the final nuke coming out from Kyrios. Balrogmus has a crack, has a boom, begins crumbling as Kyrios takes down Zemus. and takes down this race and series. The final race bot time of... We'll get that in a moment for you. And we will see if Kyrios is available for an interview. Big GG's to both runners on a fantastic race.
Big GG's to our runners indeed, and thankfully this is not the type of Balrog that will go down taking your mage with him.
No, hopefully we can get some scroll drops though. Kyrios takes it with a official race bot time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, 48 seconds. We'll see about that interview momentarily.
Meanwhile, on the Cubs' side, we do see him getting through that alt gauntlet relatively easy, and by that thing of the ear, we have a joining via the Kyrios. Hello and GG's to you.
Hello, thank you very much.
Yeah, very much GG's. Great race all around. The power of Crystal Sword Cecil.
Oh, did Cubs not do the chests after the Excal?
No, he did not. Cubs picked up the Excal and exited out immediately from Eblin Cave, ran with that Excal and put it to good use. What prompted you to stick around and continue fighting those other two chests? Was it experience, the hunt for, or the allure of a crystal sword, or what?
A little bit of both. Definitely experience. Having just switched out the Rydia for the Palom being base level, I wanted to get up towards the good spells and get Rosa into good Berserk and at least close to Blink. But there were also enough things that my party needed that would have been good finds there. I mean, even like a power shirt or something is probably worth the time in combination with the experience. And certainly there's the crystal sword thing where if it's there and your opponent gets it and you don't, I mean, this is what happens.
Yeah, especially with two chests being in the right tower. A little more density offered in that right tower with the bulk of the chests being there. It can feel a little awkward if you don't go there first, because it's so tempting to just go straight to the right, find something, find that chest. All right, and then from there, you go down the hook route, you beat up the Octomam, you don't care about no holy resist. Get to the underground, check a couple things, and then eventually go down to the Fey March, where you decided to fight both bosses on the first dip. What prompted that decision?
I mean, there were so few key items in hand at that point. Now, we had just gotten the pan, so that's a chain towards a lot of them. But for a couple bosses that were not that hard, I mean, I took the reset on the DKC, but that was still, like, that was always going to work. And with the defense gear that Cecil had and the crystal sword, the other fight was pretty free too. So, like, the odds were good enough of getting something relative to the time spent, and it paid off. I mean, it doesn't always pay off. You got to kind of play the odds on those. I was happy enough to take the risk, though, there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't ultimately a particularly hard Fey March. Like you said, Crystal Sword in hand, that's going to go down real quick. You've got healing for the DKC and 1500 HP on Cecil. Those will go by. And then you turn in those pan, or the pan with your 6 or 5 key items in hand, and you get the tower key. Mm-hmm. And then you go and you do Baron Castle, and you get a coffin. And it's just no key items still, until you finally hit that Earth Crystal from the Baigan, which then sends you underground to clean up the tower and Luca Key. Why not chase the Earth Crystal instantly?
I'm always going to do the tower key there before going to the moon, right? So unless Earth Crystal is like literally passing, even then I'm going to the tower key. And it's nice that it switches your airship so you don't have to worry about the Troya parking thing, which I didn't think was going to matter with no pass, but in the end it would have mattered. And then,
it would have mattered indeed.
Well, I'm down there with so few bosses. The odds on the Luca check are better than they would normally be, so why not? I felt I had been executing pretty well to that point. If anything, my issue had been doing too many things, but for the most part, they had been paying off in terms of chaining items and spots that looked like they would be necessary. So I didn't feel in such a precarious position about spending that extra time for the Luca check, and then it was very fortunate that it paid off as well. Also, knowing that Cubs did it last night, I didn't want to get bit by it either.
A little bit of metagaming after watching back the tape. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of how this siege shook out. There were so many branching paths, and you systematically went through all of them. Some of them paid off, like Luca Cave. Some of them A little less so, like the tower and Dwarf Castle, and I can keep going. But ultimately culminated with a whole metric boatload of experience points and one quick Zeromus fight.
If you have the opportunity to get 500,000 experience at Elements, I strongly recommend doing so.
Oh yeah, it's great. A well-executed triple life glitch with the battle speed 3 beforehand. Was that just tuned down in case it was one of the other fights, or?
Yeah. So I tuned it down in Zot in case there was a Wyvern there, and then I left it because that's an easy enough reset, and then it has a big reward if you do see something like the officer at that spot.
Got it.
Obviously, if that's Gauntlet, I'm slamming the reset just to go down to BS1 and rearrange the party.
No, nobody wants to take a Gauntlet at BS3 or 6, or... That's a lot of time. But the seed was over in not so much time at all, 126-48. You have taken Game 2 in this series and will be moving on to the Blue Moon Waxing Finals, where you face, an opponent. What are you planning to do to change things up or keep things the same for that match?
It's interesting.
Match?
That opponent that I am facing is probably the person with whom I am least familiar out of the kind of, 12 or 15 people who could be at this point in the Blue Moon bracket, because I do think that there was a large number of people who had the potential and the execution to kind of get here, and I'm fortunate to be here, and they're fortunate to be here. And it's going to be interesting to kind of learn it as we go and hopefully run some good races against each other.
And that's all you can hope for. I've kind of been hogging the mic here, Blue. Did you have any other questions for Kyrios?
Nope. Actually, I was. It's kind of funny because I was going to chime in with a question or two, but you actually asked them, so I don't really have anything. I mean, other than one that popped up. There, we saw from this end, almost no bosses on the overworld. Very few key items early on. Almost an hour in. Was that having an effect on how you were maybe trying to run the seed prior to getting underground?
For sure. I mean, it helps to be short both key items and bosses, right? Because if you're short one or the other, you have to kind of weigh, should I go high completion or should I just try and ping the darkness and start hunting for things on the moon? But when you're lacking everything, you might as well do everything, especially when you have the Crystal Sword Cecil and nothing takes too much time individually. There's always the chance that your opponent is going to kind of figure out the optimal route and rando you a bit, but I felt, like I said earlier, I felt comfortable enough with where I was in the seed at every point that I didn't feel the need to kind of rush through things.
I completely hear that, because when you have Crystal Sword, anything, that is just going to make everything go by that much quicker. I don't have anything else. Pancras, you got anything?
No, nothing really on my part. Big GG's on a well-run race and a well-run series, and we look forward to seeing you in the finals.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the team, both Pancras and Blue broadcasting tonight, Mecca and Ellie, for keeping us moving behind the scenes. It's been a fun tournament to play in, and hopefully, I'm sure it'll continue to be that.
Agreed. And GG's to you again. Go kick up your feet. You deserve it.
Thanks.
All right.
That was Kyrios. A good race all around. As we were interviewing, Cubsrule also defeated the Balrog and took down second place with a time of 1:34:57. Cubs will be declining an interview for this evening, so we won't get to hear his thoughts. But still, massive GG's on a well-run race.
Very massive indeed. That being said, we are not done yet. We still have a couple of races happening this evening. A couple of races that I am actually attempting to pull up, but not doing that so well.
It's all right. We are going to be having 2 more Blue Moon waning matches this evening. For our Dubword 47 versus Dr. Cossack will be happening here on the Free Enterprise channel, and eNinja 81 versus Beauty and Discovery will be happening on Free Enterprise 2. Both of these matches will be starting at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific, in about 1 hour and 13 minutes. Keep your eyes peeled for these channels going live for even more Blue Moon action.
Yes, and I know that some people, won't say it, but I still think it goes without saying. When those races do come up, please do not spoil them. People do want to go back and watch them, newspapers, etc., etc. So Pancras, is that it? We done? We just gonna cut stream? Or we
Yep.
gonna go somewhere?
No, we're not
No,
done.
no.
There's more free enterprise action in about an hour and a half time, but we gotta leave you all with something to watch until then. After such an exciting match like this, we are going to be heading on over to Rex Banner 12, currently running, I believe, some Red Moon practice seeds for his upcoming races. We don't want to leave you all empty-handed after such an exciting race, so feel free to stick around and enjoy Rex's chat. But of course, like Blue just said, don't be spoiling this race. This was a semifinal series, and we do not want to spoil anything for people, especially as an exciting race as this was, that they don't want spoiled.
Yes, but do take care, be safe, and we hope to see you next time here on Free Enterprise.
Till then, bye!